Watch the entire video, my lovely viewers, from start to finish, to get the whole thing. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into it.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Hi lovely viewers, it's me again, your one and only Mutati Mpundu. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time on my channel, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button down below. Turn the bell icon to join the notification squad. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you lovely viewers.
Going through a lot of things, and we are seeing prominent people like the Vice President coming on the camera and telling the Zambian people that issues that are going on in the country is a concern of everyone, and that even if they were to be voted out of power, the people will still remain poor. I don't know how we can take that statement, if it in any way it sounds like it's a fair statement. What do you think, my comrade?
Well, I think that, when I first watched that clip and listened very carefully to the Vice President's views on that particular subject, something struck me, and I really was in a place where I had mixed, emotions, mixed feelings. I didn't know whether to feel sad or to laugh about it. But as I think that as I got to digest her views, I found them as a parting message. Those are words of a leader who is on her way out, of a government that's on, on its way out. It's actually a parting message to Zambians, much as on the other hand, there are views that are quite concerning and annoying, especially to us, the ordinary Zambians who are told off that will remain poor even when the UPND goes. I think that the duty of every government that's elected into place is to ensure that they better the lives of the people. So if the ones elected to better the lives of the people are telling you off that you are going to remain poor, I think that it's really a funny thing.
Yeah, it was a very interesting statement, trust me. Leadership should give hope to the people, especially that when people are elected into public office, the idea is to save the people. Now, the people that you have given responsibility to save you and take care of your needs are the ones telling you to say, actually, this idea where you think that government must do everything, you should know that you will remain poor even if we leave. Yes, that could be a true statement, because Jesus said, you always have the poor among you. But he did not say that we should not try hard to uplift the people's lives. You need to give hope to the people. I really found that statement really shocking. But again, for those that are opponent, they should take advantage of that and understand that the ruling party is giving them fair statements. This Vice President has been making a lot of statements that are of concern. I remember last time she made a statement to say, this time we should meet our I don't know. I found that statement quite funny, because if she went further to say, we are encouraging young people who want to go into marriage to marry, and then government support them to have children, that would have been very helpful to the Zambian people. But to just say, I don't know how you look at it.
I think on the other hand, she must be commended for her truthfulness. She seems to be the only one who's interested in telling the truth in this government, when it comes to the current situation, how the country is being run down by a government, to which she is part, because for you as president, as Vice President of the Republic, to be telling people that they are going to remain poor, like I said, the duty of every government, every leadership that is put in place is to ensure that they better the lives of those who follow them. You know what I mean? And you're a leader because people follow you. They are in leadership because the Zambians, they carry the weight of, the 20 million plus Zambians, that are in our country. So if those that are in government are going to tell us off that we'll remain poor, then what was the whole essence of them being in government? They are put in government to ensure that our lives are made better, work around our economy to ensure that, our economy is functioning so that each and every Zambian can maximize, the benefit of our country. But if those that are charged with those responsibilities are telling you that you remain poor, really, it's like I said, it's an issue that carries mixed emotions. It's funny, it's also sad. Considering that those are the people that Zambians expect to get hope from when things are as hard as they are. Because things are very hard right now. Zambians are going through some of the toughest times that they've ever had to go through. You know what I mean? We come from communities where we live with elderly people who were of age during the first, indigenous Zambian regime of President Kaunda and his colleagues when they gained independence. They tell us of how life was back then, but it's never been this hard. Even they are telling us that, look, life has never been this hard in Zambia. And at the point where you expect to maybe get some hope, then you are told that this behavior you have of changing governments, you will remain poor.
I don't know at what point she got to that realization to say, even if you change government, you still remain poor. Imagine, it's for me, what I find very funny is that that vice president that we have today, is a very experienced politician. You remember, and she's a teacher. She was a deputy head teacher at Bama Basic School in Kabwata, and then she was deputy speaker under MMD. So we can't say she's a novice when it comes to politics. But I think she's just too honest, especially that she has this background of Christian issues. So she must be very honest, and I think the Zambian people must pay attention to what this vice president is saying. I think it's time that she speaks. The Zambian people must see beyond what she's saying. She's very truthful. And except that she's saying that we should not think changing government to better their lives. They remain the same. But every government should be able to say, if I found someone living in a certain way, especially those that supports us, they have a 2.8 million people. If they don't care about the rest of the Zambian people, but at least the 2.8 million people should feel part of the promises that they were really taken care of, that hope has been restored and they are comfortable. So for her to make that statement, for me, I think it's a wake-up call to the government itself and to the Zambian people that our friends are saying bye and are saying it without shame, openly before us. So that whatever little hope people may have should know that that statement by the vice president deleted every hope they had.
And you see the question of telling off people that changing government, because in essence she was also trying to say that changing government is not the solution. I think that was her indictment in that statement that she made. You see, like you said, she's a very experienced politician. Also, we have all thought, as it's turning out like the way so many things under this new Dawn government have actually turned out. I've actually learned that things are not always what they seem, from these are colleagues that are in government, because the issue of elections is a constitutional issue. So whether we remain poor or rich, the fact of the matter is that constitutionally we're supposed to go to elections, and we have a right to change government and replace whichever government that we may have with another government that we think will do better for us. You know what I mean? And I think that her statement, like I said, is a parting statement. It's a message of farewell. She was giving farewell to all of us Zambians. She's trying to prepare mostly the minds of the UPND, people, to ensure that they know that the time is really up for them, because whether she likes it or not, whether they like it or not as UPND, the Zambian people will go to elections, will go to vote on the 12th of August of next year. And they will be changing government because the signs are there, I don't see any signs or any reason why the UPND government should be maintained. There's not been anything that I can, pinpoint that because of this reason, this government should be maintained. I've not even met anybody, in recent times who holds that view of us having to maintain government as a country. So I think that it's a good thing also that she knows what time it is.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the undertone in that statement was that we shouldn't change government. And what makes it fun is that they came with a slogan of they were doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
Change go. So now they sit in that chair.
Yeah.
It's hot. They
Yeah.
cannot do anything that they promised. Now they have to start telling the Zambian people subtly that
Yeah.
we don't need to change government.
Exactly.
I do not think, like you have said, I've not met anyone that suggests that they should be maintained. That is why when I look at that report that these comrades were presenting, which they are saying that the president has and the UPND have met the 90% of the promises. I don't know, which promises do you think, to a greater extent, you can really
have
say
been
here
kept.
that have been fulfilled? I don't know any. The 10 that I know that are prominent, none of them has been fulfilled. So which ones are the 90?
You see, there's not been, like I said, for people to maintain government, there are indicators, there are reasons, that people have that, spike the need to maintain government. And so far, the past 4 years, there's been no reason at all that should, compel Zambians to want to maintain government. So even when those two gentlemen were presenting, we are doing that skit, I call it a skit because that's what it is, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Of people just waking up and deciding that they want to be anchors of skits. This is business of creating content. Now even people at State House want to become content creators. You know what I mean? So
It makes it funny.
It's very funny that two grown men would parade themselves and add on to the lies that were already told. The Zambian people have been dealing with the lies that they were told, by this president and his people already, that have turned out to be promises that carried no intent of fulfillment. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you come on top of that, you come and add some more lies, to the people that have experienced your being in power for 4 years. You come and tell them that you've achieved 90 plus,
What we
percent
can
of what you
basically
promised.
call documented lies. Now they have
Exactly.
documented the lies.
Exactly.
Those were verbalized, but now Jito and the others went to document
them so that we keep record. It's very
record,
funny.
yes.
They want you to keep records. They don't want us to speak from without, because now you see you produce that publication, and I've not even seen that publication. Not that I would be very keen on seeing it, because I can predict what is there.
Even me, I
exactly.
haven't looked at it, and I'm not even looking forward. Just that it was shocking. And one thing that would be of interest is that when you look at the Patriotic Front, the Patriotic Front did this manifesto after the 2016 elections, prior to 2021. So I was expecting that the UPND would have done a manifesto by now that would detail what they promised, what they have achieved against what they intend to achieve going forward. But to go and come up with a report that is documenting lies, it's very unfortunate for this country.
Exactly.
And the other thing that I find very funny is that when you look at the UPND, everything they used to get to power, they are curtailing today.
Exactly.
The UPND used a lot of propaganda, a lot of lies, and they abused social media more than any other person.
Exactly.
Now, it's like umuntu abyala kanunka, and the rest I expect to kuchita ripu intoyo. I don't think that it's going to work for them. They saw propaganda, and is what saw them become a ruling government. But they sit there, then they realize that now the same social media people are going to use it to remind us of the lies that we told. Now they want to curtail everyone. I've seen a lot of people reporting that a number of people are being arrested for even sending an emoji in the WhatsApp group. But I haven't yet confirmed that those reports are really real.
Well, you see, the thing about this government, what I've come to learn is that believe everything that people tell you when it comes to this government and its way of doing things. I would not be surprised that they send someone to jail because of sending emojis. Because these are people that have sent a whole member of parliament to jail for simply speaking on a suspicion, that the president might dissolve parliament. You know what I mean? So with people like that, there's really no telling how far they are willing to go to just, number one, blood on the constitution, and impart fear in the people, because I think that the intention is to impart fear in all of us. They don't like the fact that we are challenging them on all the lies they told and the promises they made that they have failed to keep. You know what I mean? And I think that it's typical, really. They should consider doing things better. When they are removed, from government next year, they have things to reflect on. They have things to reflect on. And they will really have no one to blame because they will have brought it upon themselves.
Yeah, and you see, what I have a problem with most of the time is that when you're running a government, for instance, a president should have a lot of ears and eyes that have to hear on his behalf and to see on his behalf in order to inform him. So when you look at these laws that you have enacted, it tells you and me that state institutions are going to be wasting time to be on social media to see who is saying what at the expense of the things they are supposed to be doing. Honestly, I find that to be very unfortunate for this country, that you can have the entire government systems watching social media, where millions of people are joining social media every day, and you burden the government system to be listening to who is posting which emoji. And they must understand, these emojis expresses emotions.
Exactly.
If I receive a funeral, and it's in a group, I'm sending to a group that have received a funeral, anyone who's going to put a crying emoji on my statement that I've sent is expressing sorrow. And for me, who is bereaved, I will know what they are meaning by that emoji. That's why I'll be upset if they send a laughing emoji when I'm communicating a funeral. So in this government, it is more like when you see somebody crying, they should arrest. Because that is what it means. Those emojis on WhatsApp, they express different emotions. Laughing, worried, excited, and all that. Exactly. So really, the way this government is abusing the law is unfortunate.
Well, you see, it's also what you get when you have a leadership that has chosen a leadership that is run by a leader that is of a certain age, and he has refused, to work with young people. So, I mean, he created the Ministry of Technology, which initially should anchor such kind of things. They are supposed to anchor our internet space, all our tech space. You know what I mean? Yes. Number one, you create that ministry, you go and appoint a minister who is even older than you. You know what I mean? The President of the Republic, I think, should be around 60, if not 61 or 62 or 63, thereabout. But he's above 60. You know what I mean? He goes and appoints Honorable Felix Mutati. No disrespect to him. Is a politician of note that we have. Some of us have literally grown up knowing Felix Mutati being driven in a GRZ vehicle bearing a green flag. You know what I mean? So you would expect that when he creates such a ministry, he will let it be run by a young person who understands the times we are living in. You know what I mean? So you get your fellow old men to run things that are supposed to be run by young people. The result is what we are seeing, because for them, they do not understand how we are living these times. You know what I mean? We're in a digital age. We're in a digital age where you really have to be in sync with the current trends and all of that for you to be able to know and understand some of these things. Even the people who advise the president, at State House and all that, they are all people who have no understanding of the times that we are living. Because if they were people who understood the times that we are living, some of these things you go to him and say, no, so you look, you're commander-in-chief, you are, and by virtue of that, you are placed above everybody. Every institution is under you. So if the police are going to arrest somebody for sending laughing emojis or whatever emojis that they may have sent to a WhatsApp group, you as his advisors go to him and say, look, we are commander-in-chief, pull rank here and tell them to stop this, because at the end of the day, it's bad for your image as president, it's bad for your government. Imagine how the rest of the world is looking at us. You're at the airport somewhere, going somewhere, and you identify yourself as Zambian, and they just say, you come from that country where they arrest people for posting emojis.
Very embarrassing.
It's very embarrassing.
Yeah. Maybe this is an indictment to Felix Mutati as the Minister of Technology.
Yeah.
You see, one thing that I think this regime needs to understand is that when it comes, first of all, to TikTok, people who are jobless are making money from TikTok.
Exactly.
And that's why you find that old people are doing crazy things on TikTok.
Exactly.
They want to attract numbers. The more the numbers, the more they get paid. Here are the youths now on social media doing everything they can, their sense of humor and everything else. Some of them are dancing in a manner that they can't even be expected to dance, but they're attracting numbers.
Yeah.
When they attract those numbers, TikTok pays them about $100, if I'm not mistaken, on a weekly basis or so.
Yeah.
Now, when now you go and have a government that is telling people that it can't employ, who are becoming innovative based on what technology is offering them, it is unfortunate. But the beauty about it all is that this regime came into power because of the youths who believed in it, because of the rhetorics that President Hichilema was able to tell them, and they believed him.
Yeah.
I remember very well how he was saying, even him, when he was going towards the election, his character and his behavior changed. He started behaving like a youth.
Yeah.
He would tell, when you see me, just body muliwe, chijobo muliwe, chishani muliwe. So he was trying to relate with that age. And that age believed him and gave him the vote.
Yeah.
But he sits in that chair and decides to betray them beyond the betrayal of not fulfilling his promises. He goes to curtail their behavior on TikTok and other social media. Exactly. So the punishment that is likely to face in the ballot is real, because he thinks that when he curtails people from talking, then he has done better. He's so mistaken. And I feel for his advisors. Me, I believe that some of the advisors that he has, they just don't have maybe he doesn't listen, or they just feel some sense of entitlement that he is president. So about it, they just get money as advisors, but they are not able to advise him. Yeah. That's what I think.
And it's also a typical example of you can't force a sheep to drink water.
Yes.
So they were propping him up when he was in opposition. Prior to 2021, they started to change his character, but you see his character then and his character now just shows you that you really can't force a sheep to drink water, to ever drink whenever it feels that it must drink. If it won't drink, leave it. Yes. So this guy was forced into becoming something that he is not. He's now just gone back to the real Hakainde that everybody used to know. The one who never used to smile with fellow black people, the one who never used to, we are told stories of how, no, he doesn't eat with people. This is the one we have now. You know what I mean? All of those things are just bringing him back. He's taken off that jacket because he needed to use it at that particular time to be able to get into government. Now he's there. He's now said, look, I don't need this. I can go back to being me. So what we are seeing right now is the real Hakainde Hichilema. You know what I mean? That's the real person that we are getting. All this dracony that we are seeing, the behavior that he's portraying of wanting to gag everybody. Look, at one point he was regarded a Facebook president, if you remember.
Yes.
Those in opposition, when he was in opposition, people used to call him a Facebook president.
He used to get a lot of
likes on his largest on polls. He used to win every poll on Facebook. Yes. He used to get a lot of likes on his posts on Facebook. He was literally a Facebook president, a social media. This actually is the first president that we have in Zambia that seems to have been almost solely ushered in through social media.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So what people expected, what we all expected, was that this person should be the one to try and now improve the social media space, so that it can benefit these same young people. They are grappling with job creation. They failed to create jobs. He promised to create X amounts of jobs, which he has failed to do. People have gone out of their way to become innovative, to use the social media space to make money. Like you said, TikTok pays people. I follow keenly the politics and leadership and governance of other leaders in Africa. Kenya, for instance, President Ruto has been very busy in as far as, the tech economy is concerned, in trying to improve it and make it better, ensure that Kenyans who are on Facebook are getting monetized. He's striking deals like that, where you don't need to have a page hosted elsewhere just for you to be getting paid. You know what I mean? You can open a Facebook account in Kenya today and grow numbers and whatever and qualify for monetization, where you can be paid for your content. Content creation has now become a business. You know what I mean? Instead of undertaking such initiatives, going to sit, instead of Jito being turned into a skitman, he should have sent him to Facebook, go and negotiate. You know what I mean? So that we can monetize our Facebook space so that our people can get paid from the content that they are creating. You see, those that are on TikTok, most of them are getting paid for it. There are also people, even on the same TikTok, who are not getting paid for it. They are creating content that should be worth money on Facebook, on Instagram, everywhere. They're not getting paid for it, even when they can make a lot of money out of it. So instead of undertaking those initiatives, you now turn around and want to close down that space just because people have decided to hold you accountable for the number one, the promises you made, and the lies you continue to tell. You know what I mean? I think that the challenge is that when you lie too much and people have seen through your lies and they are able to now question where the truth lies within your lies, it becomes a problem, and he's really being a typical person that is just an opiate to development,
And then this issue, I think to a greater extent, I feel sad as a patriotic citizen. I feel our president is being a coward. Yeah. Why do I say so? This matter that is going on over the cutting of aid by the Americans, we are seeing our foreign affairs minister, the home affairs, and the other health having a press conference warning ambassadors. Today there was a meeting where they called these ambassadors, and you could see that some of the individuals that were present in that meeting, according to diplomatic etiquette, is hostile. You don't need to bring a defense minister in a meeting of that nature.
You just have to threaten
just the minister of foreign affairs is enough to meet those people. And at this level, it is a president who must talk to their excellencies, because those are representing presidents.
They are presidents in Zambia.
Exactly. And then you look at the behavior of our public officers, I think they are embarrassing. I don't know why I feel this president hates this country very much. Because if truly he loves this country, he should not leave the matters he's leaving to his ministers to deal with. First of all, he must understand that in a democracy, it is a rule of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Exactly.
So whatever that he does, whatever that they do, should be people-centered.
Exactly.
Imagine, drugs are being stolen by public officers. They are selling them expensively to the people that are sick. And it has taken 2021 to today. You've seen that the ambassadors responded, telling the country that actually we started in 2021, reporting these issues that are happening across the country. And when you look at what he's saying, it should be very easy to curtail people who are doing that. You go in a pharmacy, you find a drug that's supposed to be given for free is being sold. You simply get that person to identify the supplier. The supplier will lead to where the source is. So a matter where it's a matter of criminality, where the Minister of Home Affairs was supposed to sit on that TV and tell the nations how he was going to deal with the criminals. But what happened? They went to threaten ambassadors, reminding them of their diplomatic etiquette, which they understand fully. Because whatever that those three ministers did showed that none of the three understand diplomatic communication. Because what those guys did after going privately to the government, they had now to go to go public. There is a public communication in diplomacy. So that is what they just did. That stage where you go privately, you write this, you respond this, they passed that stage. Now you go to remind diplomats who are qualified and competent to go and remind them that what you are doing is wrong. I'll give you this example. We are not saying diplomats must misbehave. We had the rogue diplomat in Zambia from America, Dennis Foote, whose statement undermined our sovereignty when he thought that the laws that we made that we don't agree with homosexual right in Zambia, he went and started castigating government. Government used the right channel to send food out of our country. And the president at that time was Donald Trump. And I'm sure Donald Trump could not say much because of the nature the ambassador commented. Trump is a Christian who doesn't believe in homosexuals have the right. So now, they want to cite us that even the PF were taking on ambassadors or these diplomats. That was a clear situation, and that was a unique situation which PF dealt with diplomatically, and we had to deal with that matter.
Exactly.
Now they want to think that because PF did that, PF cannot tell that we are crossing the line. For me, I feel very uncomfortable with the behavior of our government in this very matter that is going on.
Exactly, and you see what even makes it more unfortunate is that you get 3 people whom you call ministers, you bring them to the press and they address the nation, and they read statements. At the end of the day, for some of us who follow through all these statements people make, you can tell that these are very hollow statements. They had to say this and that to get to the point. But the point is to threaten ambassadors and try to intimidate them. The way they are intimidating the Zambian people against, speaking on matters of national concern. You know what I mean? You see, these ambassadors, let's take, for instance, the U.S. ambassador to Zambia, His Excellency Michael Gonzalez. His number one obligation is to the people of America. Okay? The aid that we are given here in Zambia by America, whether through USAID and whatever channels that were being used for them to give us aid, as a country, is money that belongs to the American taxpayers. His number one obligation is to ensure that the American taxpayers' money is being spent rightly, is being spent for the purposes that it was intended, And so when there is any suspicion or any evidence that the money of the American people, which is given to us in goodwill, is being misapplied, is being spent in the wrong places, instead of benefiting, the Zambian people that need to benefit in terms of health, it is benefiting individuals in the UPND government. He has every right to raise concern. And if you heard, the ambassador clearly outlines the period of concern from late 2021. And who was in government in late 2021? It wasn't the PF. Okay, from December 2021, according to the U.S. ambassador, to date, they have held 35 plus meetings, okay, to address the issue of pilferage, the issue of money being stolen, the issue of corruption, and generally theft in the Ministry of Health. Which ministry? They fund the largest part of it. You know what I mean? They've held. So if you can hold 30-something meetings, at what point do you now turn around and say, no, PF also chased the ambassador? Or, like you said, that was a very unique situation, and it needed to be dealt with decisively. Number one, we're a Christian nation. We don't condone some of these things that they wanted us to be condoning. And the matter was addressed decisively, and there was no backlash. Even the American people, the American government did not complain, when the ambassador was sent back. And you can't use that particular isolated issue to now counter the issues that are going on. You see, the problem with the UPND government and the entire leadership is that they are opposed to anything that talks about accountability, to anything that screams accountability. They have a problem with it. And they have only one defense, is PF did it, which for me, I tell you, every time I hear any member of this government try to justify their inability to do things the right way with the fact that, or with the notion that PF did it, it makes me sad on behalf of those 2.8 million Zambians that decided in 2021 that they needed to change government and elect the UPND government. Because then, if the response you always have is that PF did it, then in essence you are telling us that those 2.8 million Zambians that removed PF and placed you in power have lack wisdom. You know what I mean? Initially you are insulting the intelligence and wisdom of those 2.8 million Zambians, because they thought that they needed change. They thought that PF was not doing some things right. They needed to bring you so that you can do things right. So if all you do is tell us that PF did it, so it's okay for you to do wrong things because you think the PF also did it, then you initially, you're insulting people.
And I think the biggest problem is that they seem not to have any foreign policy that they are following. They are abrogating a lot of things that have to do with the international relations that we have. In 1964, Zambia took a hardline stance to remain a non-aligned state, meaning that We didn't need to involve ourselves in a conflict of any other nation.
Exactly.
We needed to just to be Zambia.
Yeah.
If two countries are fighting, we have
stay
no
out
business
of
in
it,
their
exactly.
fight. We stay out of it, and we
Yeah.
are protected by that.
Yeah.
The moment President Hakainde Hichilema formed government, we saw that he took a pro-West approach.
Yeah.
They seem not to have a clear outline on their foreign policy. They just don't have any at all.
Exactly.
Because if they did, they first would have wanted to appoint a competent and a qualified person who understands international relations as a foreign affairs minister. It's the first time in the history of this country where an issue that's supposed to be dealt with diplomatically by one individual in charge of that department is getting to be flanked by a number of ministers. And in today's meeting, I will still repeat, you do not need to bring the Minister of Defense in such a meeting. That is hostility.
Exactly.
If you look at America itself, the time you see an American defense minister or equivalent to that title is in times of war, where the president is no longer in charge. When the country is under attack, it is a minister of defense that takes care of everything else.
Exactly.
That's a structure. So now, imagine the world watches that a minister of foreign affairs who should be capable to handle that kind of a meeting invites the other people and the minister of defense. For what reason?
Our minister of
for what reason? It's the first time. I've never seen such a meeting before.
Even I have never seen it. You see, even the PF that we are told every time, PF used to do all the wrong things, have never gotten to such kinds of extents. You know what I mean? Where initially, bringing a defense minister to that meeting is to try and whip those ambassadors.
Exactly. That is hostility.
You know what I mean? But you see, the thing about these foreign diplomats, like you said, those are presidents in another country.
Yes.
They are representing the president of that country.
Yes.
You know, sitting here at the U.S. Embassy in Lusaka, in Ibex.
Yes.
His Excellency Michael Gonzalez is the president of America in Zambia. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you think you can just bring a defense minister and make him sit there with weird spectacles and be looking at him in an intimidating manner, and you think you intimidate them, you are wrong.
It's unfortunate.
You know, it's a breakdown of diplomatic protocols and etiquette. You don't do that.
Exactly.
These are matters that should be handled diplomatically.
Exactly.
You know, the Minister of Foreign Affairs should be competent enough to handle these matters diplomatically. He presides over a team of diplomats. Exactly. The entire Ministry of Foreign Affairs should be run by diplomats.
Yes.
Okay. Surely you are telling me that of all the employees at Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there's no one who understands diplomatic etiquette enough to have told this minister that you can't do this joint business that you are trying to do. You know what I mean? If you are fighting cholera and you say, no, let's create a task force of ministers, you can do that.
As many possible.
As many as you would like to bring. But I mean, to bring a defense minister to that particular meeting and in the hope of trying to silence the American ambassador, the way they are silencing Zambians by arresting each and every person who says anything that seeks to hold them accountable. It's unfortunate for them, really, that they were backing at the wrong horse, because the Americans are not backing down. They have an obligation to ensure that the American taxpayers' money is spent correctly. Exactly. And they should be supported. I mean, it's actually a call to every Zambian to ensure that you give the American people the support that they need. Their money has been sustaining us this far.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. Their money has sustained us this far. You saw how the American ambassador shed tears just at the thought of how many people were going to die.
How many have died.
And how many have died due to negligence and due to refusal by those in government to be held accountable. You know what I mean? Over 1 point something, million people are at risk of dying currently, because people have decided to do the wrong thing. You see, even the issue of that the Minister of Home Affairs was saying, we've arrested X number of people. Yes. You are going into the compounds to go and arrest Mr. John Piri, who runs like a small chemist, You go and arrest him. You are leaving the culprit who's dispensing the drugs from where they're supposed to be kept.
Exactly.
The person who's rerouting containers of medicine that should be kept by ZAMSA to go and put them at a farm. Those are the people you have decided to leave alone. But you want to go and arrest somebody who is actually being scammed because they are being sold medicine that they are not supposed to be buying from these people.
Exactly.
You know? So why not deal with the root cause?
Imagine, and when you look at the matters at hand, you realize that it should have just taken one minister, because this is a matter of criminality. It should have taken one minister of Home Affairs to address the nation and update the nation from the time these criminal activities have been reported, what they have done, and what they are going to do going forward now that the cat is out. That is what I would have expected from a responsible and reasonable government. But in this government, you just get a bunch of ministers flanking each other to discuss matters that are off what's supposed to be discussed, intimidating ambassadors. You do not expect somebody to give you something for free and you go and sell and they are aggrieved and you go to warn them. That is unacceptable. This behavior is unacceptable. And we hope that it can be addressed and that those people that have occupied the government institution for a long time and are still there, and those are in your reference at Foreign Affairs Ministry, they should be able to know that when this government changes, they will be asked what their job descriptions were in that ministry. Because every person in a ministry has a job description given to them as an individual, which they have kept in their locker when they were given the job. So they will have to come and explain to say, my role in the ministry as director in charge of negotiation, policy and foreign policy and everything else was this. In that particular situation, what did you do over this matter? What did you advise the minister? Those records, we should find them. So that they will be exonerated from this behavior, this childish behavior that is being exhibited today.
No, it's really, really unfortunate, you know, and it brings me to another issue. The way these, you know, colleagues that are in government do things is so mumbo jumbo that you can't, it's really very difficult to follow, you know, matters as they arise. You know, it's really, really very difficult to follow matters as they arise. Because at this stage, what we should have been told is, we were told the American embassy raised concern of our Ministry of Health and how it was running, and we took these steps to ensure that we corrected that particular mistake. Remember when the issue of the 15 or how many containers of medicine that were packed at somebody's farm in McKinney? Exactly, you know. The only thing we saw was the president transferring the then Minister of Health, Honorable Sylvia Masebo, from Ministry of Health and taken her back to Ministry of Lands, where she has a lot of issues and interest at Kampasa land there, where she has gone back, by the way. She has gone back to continue her drama at Kampasa there. You know what I mean? Instead of dealing with the problem, when a problem has been cited and when it's been identified and you've been told that, look, this is a problem that is derailing your progress, you nip it in the bud. You know, you don't transfer one problem from one area to another. You remove her from health, you send her to lands to go and cause more problems there. You know what I mean? What we would have expected was decisive action. You know, I like how the former ZAMSA managing director, Victor Nyasulu, has decided to defend himself, because this is a guy whom they now want to throw under the bus and blame everything on him. And he has also said, look, not me. You can do that to other people that you fired and thrown them under the bus and heap a lot of things that they didn't even do on them. Me, I'll defend myself. And I think that whatever his role may have been in that whole scuffle, for me, it's important that he has decided to take a stand. And that's a stand that is in sync with the people. You know what I mean? Because he's giving details of the reality of things. You know what I mean? The reality of things, where you know what the problem is, but you are meandering around it because you are interested in keeping these people that are causing the problem. For now, for one, because they are your relatives, because, I mean, this is a government that deals with relations. You know what I mean? That deals with relations. If you are not related to them, you are a problem. And they will not keep you.
And adding on that, when you talk about the transferring people, it's like you are transferring cancer from your right leg
to the left,
left leg, instead of amputating the leg.
The leg,
And what's funny is that Honorable Masebo made a statement before she was moved to say, we know there are criminals stealing drugs. We want them to stop. At that point, I was wondering why should not go further to have those people arrested. Because you cannot scream to say, those who are stealing must stop. No, they have reasons why they are stealing.
Exactly.
So, for as long as the reason why they are stealing,
just stop, they would not be stealing in the first place.
Exactly. If you just stop by them being told to do so. Especially you have not arrested. Maybe when you arrest them and say stop, next time you go to jail. But when you just make a stand and say, we know you are stealing, but stop. For me, that was quite wrong. And then, when it comes to President Hichilema, you know what I think sometimes is that he took for granted his so-called international connections or global connections.
Yeah.
He really thought in his mind that these foreigners or this international global connection that he had would choose him over a country. I think that was his mistake.
You see, also, it's about lies. When you lie too much, sometimes what I've come to learn about lying, that's why I don't like telling lies myself.
Yes.
Because when you lie too much, you begin to believe your own lies. Yes. So the gentleman lied to all of us Zambians. Well, some of us saw through his lies, and we rejected them just there and then. But there were some of our fellow citizens who decided to be gullible and believe the lies. Okay? He also believed his own lies that he had international connections, which he doesn't have.
I think so.
He doesn't have them. Those were just part of a wholly concocted lie, you know? Because if he had those international connections, it's like Chabinga going to the people of Mafinga in 2021 during campaigns. This guy told the people of Mafinga, I've got friends in Dubai. When I just win this election, they are going to come and put tarmacs and skyscrapers in Mavinga. Up to date, there's not a single third road.
Did he say that?
You know, he said that, and I was there, by the way. You know, he did say that. He promised the people that. Even now, when you go to Mavinga, they will tell you that that guy lied to us that he had friends in Dubai, and those friends have never shown up. So it's the same thing with his friend now, because they are very close friends now with Mr. Hichilema. So it's like they are birds of the same feather. They are cut from the same cloth. You know what I mean? People who just want to have a peaceful night until they tell a lie. That's when they'll sleep better at night. So it's an issue of lying too much. You know, our brother, the president, lied too much. He ended up believing his own lie. Before even some of the people he was lying to could believe him, he decided to believe it himself first. You know, that's how he continues to. There's so many lies, you know. Number one, I'm very rich, the richest Zambian. When people ask you how you got rich, you don't answer. You don't know the answer to that question, you know. I have international connections. Me, when I come, the World Bank, the IMF, whatever. You know what I mean? Nothing up to date, you know. Up to date, nothing. So it just tells you the propensity of lies that he carries.
You know, I love his audacity to lie and his audacity to break the law. I have not known anybody, any president, even in the world, who has so much courage to break the law and to think that he would get away with everything. You see, I was looking at a situation where he said, when he was going for these meetings prior to the elections around the world, in one meeting in America, people to him pledged $25 billion.
Yes, I remember.
They pledged $25 billion. Now, he's a very intelligent man in his field as a businessman, according to what he could have studied in college or university. But how did he just believe in pledges? Because pledges are pledges. People can honor pledges.
They can be fulfilled or not.
If lies really made him become, if to tell a lie was the only strategy he had to become president, after becoming president, did he need to continue telling lies? I thought he needed now to continue being truthful to the Zambian people. This I said I would do. I was a novice of this office. Now I'm here. I can be able to do ABCD. This I didn't know how it works. I am not able to do this. I will do this. He would have gotten so much respect from the people. There was going to be one president that was going to unite this country because of the way the voting pattern was done. People that never voted for him decided to give him an opportunity. 1.8 million people from the 7 provinces where he has always been losing, he has been losing the elections, gave him the vote. And he became president. But for the fact that he has continued in that office to exhibit cowardice behavior is of worry to a lot of us, especially us who knew that he was incapable of the things he said. And we told the Zambian people. You know, prior to the election, there was a scenario that happened, I think, in one of his farms, where people enclosed I think he sank a borehole in one of his farms, and people enclosed. And then it was alleged that because people were crossing too much in his land to draw water, he went and barricaded the area and he put the borehole inside, whereby people could not access it. So one time when it was being said by his opponent, I told someone to say, this tells you that this president is not a good president. He will not be a good president. Because on the other side he's saying people drink water with animals.
Exactly.
He has the privilege to sink a borehole. And then people find a relief that let's go and draw water from the farm of our incoming president. And he goes to barricade that area and the borehole is the other side. And then the same person goes to promise there elsewhere to say, people, you are drinking dirty water with animals. When I become president, we are going to bring clean water and everything. So for me, I think it's unfortunate. I have benefited to the good name of this country according to what Kaunda and his fellow did. There's a point when it was very nice to travel as a Zambian. You reach the border area, someone just looks at the passport, Zambia, they stamp you go in. You are at the airport, you are just landing. They just look at the passport, Zambia. They first ask you, how is Kaunda? Kaunda is fine. How is the Chipolopolo boys? It's fine. This country is good. I had such opportunities at some point in South Africa, just by the airport. I submit my passport. The guy looks at it, starts asking me about Kaunda, Chipolopolo, and he was very excited. Zambia is a good country. You, your brothers, pass. I didn't waste time. At some point, I was traveling by road, going to South Africa with a Congolese. One guy, I was in front. The guy just looked at the passport and said, good people, good country, good friend of ours. You go this side. And then the guy behind was a Congolese. He presented the document. My brother, we delayed for 1 hour because of one individual. Because whatever documents that he was carrying needed to be really examined. They needed the proper lighting to see if this is a good document or what. So now when I look at us getting back to this level, believe you me, my brother, today, going with your passport to certain countries, it's a shame.
It's very shameful.
I don't think the Zimbabwean borders will treat me the same.
No.
When I present my passport. I don't know the Namibian, Botswana, I don't know. But this is what people must know, that the behavior of government can affect the general citizenry in a way, because when the country is dented because of individuals that are presiding over it, it affects a lot of people. I pray that in the coming elections, they are going to be removed so that we can have a government that's going to restore our dignity and our sovereignty back. That is what my wish is.
You see, it's somebody told me something about a good name. They say that a good name is better than any other kind of glory. Let people at least say that, no. You can say anything about Prince, but that he can do. Because his name is not associated to anything like that. You know, Zambia has been known to be, number one, a peace-loving nation. It's been known to be a heaven for everybody, refugees and all of that. It's been known to be a very democratic country, a country where people freely express themselves, you know. But now, all that image has been dented by one individual and a group of people that he has decided to put in his corner and decided that they are going to determine the fate of the rest of us. You know what I mean? We have a country whose image is being dented. We have a country whose image is being destroyed day and night. And you know what it would take to rebuild our image as a country, really, we can't even begin to imagine, because of this thing that we've let, you know, happen to us. It's really going to take a lot of time. Look, they have outrun their 5 years mandate, you know. They have outdone themselves. They made promises which they never intended to keep, as we can now see. They've told lies. They have embarked on a path to intimidate people, silence the opposition, cripple our political system by ensuring that they are the only ones. You see, from 2021, UPND is the only political party that is allowed to hold a political rally at will in a democracy, where there should be a competition of ideas, where there should be a comparison of ideas. The Zambian people should be able to listen to those who are in the opposition so that they can be able to tell what is good for them. You have a country that is now running a system where the ruling party are the only ones that have, the access to the Zambian people, that have got express, access to address and speak to the Zambian people. And on top of that, this is a ruling party that has no content. UPND has no content. If you've seen the recent rallies, political rallies that the UPND as a political party and their president have held. In Kabwe, they held a rally in Kabwe. They held a rally in the Woodland Stadium. Recently, they held a rally in Chikuni there. You can tell that the man has no content. Yes. President Hakainde Hichilema has nothing to say. Simply because he has done nothing at all. You know what I mean? He has nothing to point at. It was easy for President Edgar Lungu in 2021. Unfortunately, we had COVID, so campaigns were very limited. Political rallies were curtailed. But even before that, just in 2016, in that 1 year that he saved, after President Satta's death in 2014, he had something to point at that was done by the PF. Yes. You know what I mean? The UPND have done nothing. So the president has nothing to point at. Next thing, he's just going to start dancing and start talking about small girls in Luapula, and all of that. It's the
sweet ones in Kawambu, a nice one.
Exactly, because there's no content. There's nothing else to say. Ishashala nomba kula randa fia ngashari uwa upa nganasenda pokamo. Vayama mwari upa ilo nmo wacheche oda. You can't undo that. You know what I mean? You can't undo that.
On lies and stealing. Maybe you and me have an obligation to our children to teach them against such vices. Yeah. Because I don't know why people have this desire to sit in offices of public and then they are able to look at monies or facilities that are there and they begin to see how they can help themselves. I think we've got to do that. There's one thing that I keep telling my daughter, the others, about telling lies and wanting to have what you don't have that your friends have.
Exactly.
One time my father told me that you must never be entitled to another person's earnings.
Exactly.
For me, what that taught me is that no matter how much you're my friend, and you know what it is? A friend of a rich man is not a rich man, but a friend of a thief is a thief.
Exactly.
So I think we have to start as parents to teach our children to be able to avoid things that are not theirs, and also teach them that when they are given a responsibility, especially sitting where money exchanges hands, they must know that they are not worthy according to the money they are handling. Exactly. They are worth what they have agreed to be given.
Exactly.
Because there are people that think that when you are seated, you are working with someone, you are seated, you are dealing with a lot of money, you think this is aggregated to what should be your earnings. I think that should come to an end. Because even these guys, whereby he's seated on the drugs that have been given for free, that's supposed to go to the people. And then the first thing he thinks, I don't have transport to go to there. How can I make
drugs? How can we monetize these free drugs?
Exactly. Someone made a joke to say, when you are dealing with when you're employing a Bemba in your company, just know that he will rarely ask you for transport. Because whether Wamwika as the office order, he will do something. He will find the way. So I would laugh a colleague from Eastern Province would joke like that with me. Now you went and feel like a boss. Now you find a way of making something. I think that must be discouraged about public officers. They must understand that when you inculcate a spirit of stealing, if you survive it as a father, believe you me, it will extend to your children.
Exactly.
Your children will pay a price more than you think. Because when I look at President Hichilema today, he has told more lies and he has to continue telling more lies so that he can survive, of which he will not. Exactly. Because of all the promises he made, one promise he made that has affected this nation, that he has failed to deal with, is load shedding. The time he was forming government, we had almost zero load shedding. Before that, we had 12 when they were trying to change the...
We had blackouts.
And we had 12 hours, came to 4 until 0. And his statements on those days when there was too much load shedding, as an opposition leader, he was saying, people are dying. Civil servants are keeping food in their fridges. Now they can no longer keep. They have to depend on buying. Those who are running barber shops, those who are running saloons, those who are doing all those welding arrangements are suffering. That's what he said. And those people went to vote him massively. Has he ever made a statement about those who are doing welding saloons now that they go 2-3 days without power? Is he able to measure the suffering in our communities? You know, I was telling a friend today that we were passing at some compounds, and I saw a lot of kids playing. So I told the guy to say, you know, Zambia is a country that you can be proud that has a long life. Because anywhere you go across the country, you find different age groups in this country. From 1 year, it will go like a ladder up to somewhere 20. We have nations in this world which have run out of youths, meaning that the lives of span of those nations are limited. That's why they are getting foreigners to go and have children so they can have youths. Now, when you look at our compounds, that's where the suffering is. But those are the people that have made a lot of impact in our community and in our government. People that make it most time as soldiers come from the compounds. People that are running the economy in this country, if you asked them individually where they're coming from, they will tell you that they walked to the university. They will tell you that they slept outside. They went through all this. Today, they are presiding over the country, and they are still not doing the right thing.
Look, he himself, as president, never lets that story die. He always tells people how he was walking barefoot and heading keto in Bwengwa until getting to university. So he should have been, he should have served as a very perfect example of what compassion should look like, because he understands, you know, firsthand.
Now you have him get upset when you buy a big car.
You know,
when you buy a big car, he goes to put you in a press conference. Why are you buying a VX instead of a tractor?
Exactly. And
why are you eating meat instead of murembe? Such kind of things. You don't expect that from a president.
No, you don't. It's very, very interesting. You see, it brings me to another issue that I thought also had a lot of, you know, underlying issues attached to it, issues of constitutional amendments and all of that, where you just wake up one day and decide that you want to change the constitution, you know, without, you know, allowing Zambians to play their oversight role as they should, you know, in any constitutional amendment process. You know, one minute you are telling this lie, next minute you decide to go and tell the nation that you have agreed with the same nation that has no idea of what you're talking about, that you want to amend, you know, the constitution. The level of insincerity really just, it baffles me to extents where I don't know whether to laugh or to be sad. Because sometimes I ask myself questions, what are we dealing with? I know it's a fellow human being, but what exactly are we dealing with? You know what I mean? Because you can't be that deceiving that you are going to accuse somebody of things that they didn't do. You just wake up and say, we have agreed to amend the constitution.
And
people
you
tell you,
kids.
exactly.
You
people tell
kids.
you, no, we have not agreed. You gather children, 9 years old, that you have agreed to amend the constitution.
And the doctors,
you know,
35,000 against the church's rules.
Exactly.
You gather them
and they are making political statements
that we have agreed the constitution
that we have agreed to amend the constitution. You for the first time in memorial, you get the doctors and give them UPND placards to carry, to wave, and claim to be welcoming you. It gets to that level when you have become so unpopular, you know, where you are looking for anything, you are looking to maximize anything that may look like political popularity for you. You see, the biggest mistake that we human beings make is to live in denial. You deny the status quo. You know, he knows how unpopular he has become. The UPND as a government, they know how unpopular they have become. So that's why they are looking for every opportunity to want to paint a picture that they are still, you know, popular on the ground, which is a situation that is probably a story for another day. But really, I keep wondering what the rush is to want to amend this constitution. You've sat on it for the past 4 years. You didn't amend the constitution in 2021 because it was also one of the promises that he had made, that he would amend the constitution. He's been sitting on it from 2021 to date. In 2025, you wake up and say, we are going to amend the constitution. I mean, it's a constitution of the republic. Even the constitution of a political party is not amended by one man and whoever he thinks that they can sit together and amend. You know, there should be consensus. Zambians have not agreed to amend the constitution right now. So why do you want to insist on it? Why do you want to insist on it?
Cabinet.
I wonder if he listens to those lawyers.
or whether or not they really also understand certain terminologies that are being said, like the same consensus that people must agree. Because you can't gather kids in a stadium and say, kids have agreed. You can't, youths have agreed. You go and say, we want to amend the constitution because we want to incorporate the disabled. You want to go. How many people are disabled in this cabinet that you have sent?
Zero.
How many are moving into cabinet with wheelchairs?
Zero.
How many are blind?
Zero.
How many are deaf? There is nothing. But the constitution empowers him to consider all that aspiration is appointing.
Exactly.
Now, this propensity by successful governments, where they get into government and instead of respecting the constitution, they disobey it and they begin to think it is a wrong document when they are the ones that are wrong because they cannot respect it. Must come to an end. You do not amend the constitution for the reason of politics. You amend the constitution for the interest of the state and its people. So if the people have said no, so he knows that, okay, the church is a stakeholder. Then he looks around, he says, okay, I've got a church, I'm an elder, can misbehave and abuse this church. I'm going to gather these women and they should hold placards so that the world must watch that actually the majority of the church have endorsed me. He has made a mistake over that church. He has put that church in awkward position.
He has politicized it.
The history of this country does not have the SD as a church come strong on matters of governance. It is a Catholic that have been there and other Protestant churches. So he must know that that cannot work. It is okay if he's going to rush it and gag people in parliament to go ahead and do what he wants them to do, but he must understand that it's going to be a rigorous process, because even me, I can disagree and go to court to say this one cannot happen because I've not agreed. The preamble of the constitution says we, the Zambian people,
will
give ourselves this.
Yes.
So I am a part to that. It's not about teaching them. He's a citizen number one. When you're counting Zambians, we'll start with him. He's a citizen number one. Number two, not to be the wife. It is the vice president.
Exactly.
So he must understand that he's just a part to the country and he's just presiding over it. The same constitution he wants to start misbehaving toward is what gave him legitimacy after that sworn ceremony that he did, to protect, defend, and uphold.
And you see, the Constitution clearly outlines its own amendment process.
Exactly.
It clearly outlines how it should be amended as a document. And that outlinement has nothing to do with what we are seeing now, has nothing to do with the pronouncements that the president has made. You know, he has taken it like a duty rota in the house, where you wake up and say, no, as a polygamous man, you wake up and say, no, wife number Shan, tomorrow you are the one who's taking the master bedroom. Wife number 3 will come next week. You know, that's not how it should be.
That's not how it is.
You know, that is not how it should be. You've rightly put it. And you see, the level of deceit is what just continues to confuse me. Because you want to amend the constitution, obviously, for your own selfish political reasons. Okay, because you become unpopular. He knows that to just win an election conventionally, it's not going to happen. So he's looking for every opportunity to win an election by fluke. And the Zambian people are alert. That's something that he must be told. You know, the people are alert. They are not going to allow anybody to do anything that is out of what the law prescribes. You know what I mean? Now, to want to justify this unholy constitutional amendment, you want to now use issues that you know the Zambian people are highly emotional about. He knows how emotional we as Zambians are on issues of delimitation. He knows how emotional we are on issues of proportional representation, which is advancing as the main reasons why he wants to amend the constitution. That roadmap, if you've seen, I think it's good. The one they released should have about 13 items there about their issues of ministers staying in office after dissolution of parliament, outlining things that already exist. Okay? Precedence was already set on issues of ministers staying in office. 2016, we had general elections. There's not a single minister that stayed in office because the Constitutional Court pronounced itself on that particular matter and ascertained that no minister should remain in office. So that became law. You want to amend the Constitution because of that? You are being deceitful if that's the reason you want to use. You want to say youths and people living with disabilities. The gentleman has a cabinet of 38 ministers. Of these 38 ministers that he has, there's not a single one of them who is a youth. He recently fired the minister of local government. He went and chose another old man to take that position. If I were him, and I wanted to take advantage of the gullibility of some people, I would have played to the gallery and chosen amongst my parliamentarians one who is relatively young. He has some that are relatively young, and appointed the minister to just show that I have commitment. But then you see, he says things that he doesn't care.
Yeah. You know? No, it's been a very good conversation. Let's continue having this conversation so that we can try and enlighten the people and be able to discuss a number of things. So for me, when I look at the matter of a constitution amendment, I feel very sad, because when you look at the rush into pursuing the members of parliament that are on the other side, it suggests that the intention is to have more numbers in parliament towards that. I know that they are opening parliament anytime soon. I'm sure it's because of the same constitution amendments. I feel sad that man has to do everything necessary, including criminal things that are not okay, just to try and gag people to amend the constitution. But I can assure you that that is not going to be attended. It's going to go to the elections with the same constitution, and you'll be wiped clean when it comes to the determination and the resolve that Zambians have today. Because in this country, you can mess around when you have the mandate, but when the people have decided, because individual citizens of this country voted for him with a specific promise. It's not everyone that voted for him because he said we were going to reduce minimum, because other people could afford. It's not everyone who said they'll vote for him because we reduce fuel. Other people could afford. Every citizen that voted for him, that elected him to that office, had a specific promise they held on to. And none of those promises have been achieved. And when they are supposed to drum it up to tell him, he's gagging them and having them arrested, enacting a law that criminalizes freedom of expression and speech. I feel very uncomfortable that he doesn't realize that whatever that he has been doing for the past 4 years cannot be reversed in the next 13 months. He's going to face the Zambian people. They will vote him out, and they will remind him, because the same route that he used is the same route that others are going to use. In Bemba, we say, "Ichamukanike chikamukanuna." He cannot play double standards and trying to criminalize things that made him to be where he is. I hope that those people that are going to be going for the debates over the amendment of the Constitution will protect the process, because that's what's protecting content that is going to come after that.
I think that you saw, even as we wind up our chat, I think that it's important really that we appeal to our members of parliament, because at the end of the day, or at some point, the ball will solely be in their court, and they have a duty also to ensure that they protect the people's way of life. Our constitution is our way of life. It clearly defines how Zambians should live their lives. And so anybody that seeks to mess with that particular document is an enemy of the people, is enemy number one of the people. And so our members of parliament really should, on this particular issue, set aside their political aspirations and hopes, and focus on what interests the Zambian people. Because right now the Zambian people have spoken. They have overwhelmingly rejected any form of amendment to the constitution at that present. You know what I mean? So our members of parliament, the people we sent to parliament to represent us, owe us a duty to ensure that they uphold our views. We have made the views outside parliament. There are instructions, by the way. There are people that we sent to lead. We are the bosses. So when your boss instructs you to do certain things, you must do. There are no two ways about it. If the people of Kanchibia say that they don't want amendments to the constitution, why should you as an individual they sent to parliament go there and turn 360 degrees and say that no, because me, to benefit my own selfish interests, I am going to vote for the amendments to the constitution? You are being insincere. And at one point, posterity will come and judge you. And when posterity comes to judge, it would be in your best interest to be on the right side of that particular judgment.
Thank you very much. This has been Princeton and my colleague Isaac Insoneka having a conversation. See you next time.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Alright, that's all for you today, lovely viewers. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about the video you just watched in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you lovely viewers. Once again, I go by the name of Mutati Mpundu. I love you, peace, I gotta go.